every single time.
Because we need that noise, yeah. We really do.
We really do, though. I kind of like it. I mean, it's like if you didn't do it, I think I'd be a little mad that you didn't do it.
Right.
What's up, family? What's up, family?
Beautiful people. What's poppin'?
You are watching the Well Encounter.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people. I feel like the lights are kind of like crazy. There we go. I feel like a lot of people. I know a lot of people don't always say it's a new episode. I always like to refer to all of this as the encounter because hey, we know our slogan is encounter the well, become the well, emerge and share the well. So these are always encounters. Mm-hmm. If you're on, why don't you make sure that you let us know that you're watching our encounter tonight.
Miss Nikki.
I know that our Wellians are on.
Miss Kim Kyle's popping. Everybody have an interesting convo for y'all tonight.
It's going to be great tonight. I mean, it's going to be really, really, really great tonight. So listen, take a moment, like this post. And share this post.
Share
to as many people as you can. Like put it on your Facebook page. Put it in the Facebook groups that you're a part of.
Hey, Mama Alice. What's poppin'?
Yeah.
We gonna have a live night tonight. Hey, yo, the live tonight gonna be live. It's gonna get live tonight.
It's gonna be live. It's gonna be live. Hey, Candace. Hey, all of the folks. Hey, Williams. All our Williams. Listen, again, make sure you send this to all of your friends and your family. Let people know that we're live and that we're on.
Gang. And I like Miss Carr said, let's get real. Miss Carr, because of you, because of this real conversation tonight, yeah, it's a real conversation tonight.
So listen, make sure that you share this with everybody that you can. Listen, we know that we have the 5 Ps.
The 5 Ps.
And before I let 3J talk about that, I do want to make sure that you're following Encounter the Well on all of our social media, and I want to make sure that you're following the Amplify Network, which is the network that we're on with Jackie and Terrence. Listen, what a beautiful day it was outside. That's right, all of our social media is right there, Encounter the Well. Listen, what a beautiful day that we've had. And I just am so glad that you're with us. Tonight, we are talking about just an epic conversation that is had throughout the ages of time. And it's one of those conversations that we just want to see if we can bring some clarity to. Now, I do want to
bring a conversation to. Just have a conversation. You know, we don't have this conversation in church.
Yeah,
that I recall. I don't think I've ever.
I don't know. I'm sure there are some, but like it doesn't. I don't think it gets the bulk of attention that it needs. But in this day and time, I know people. Look, Martin Luther King said that Sundays are the most segregated times of the week, and we know that to be slightly true. But we are seeing a lot of more diverse churches starting to form, and so this is a conversation that I think all churches kind of can have. Listen, I just want to say it right now. If you have kids that are watching, you might want to make sure.
Hide your kids.
You might want to make sure that you explain to them the in-depthness of this conversation. We're going to say the words tonight, the N words, and I am not making any apology for it because we want to be transparent. On the flyer, we did make the flyer so that it could be posted different places. I actually, for the first time today, had a group that would not let us share the flyer in the group. And I realized it was probably because of the words. Yeah. It was the first time that a group didn't let us post the flyer. Wow. But I get it. This is a tough conversation. So again, we're going to say the word. We're going to say the words because the words are what they are. And if we offend, we don't really apologize because it's what they are. But I do want to make sure the disclaimer is out there that, yes, as Miss Nikki said, the parental advisory is advised. So tonight, with that being said, we are talking about the word nigger or nigga. Both are used.
You're going to hell.
Dang, I guess am I sentenced already? And so we want to talk about the history and the complex conversation around those. Alice said, kids are the ones saying the words.
Right.
You might be right about that. You might be right about that. But this is a deep conversation. And so, again, let's get ready. We have an amazing guest with us tonight. But we also have our brother who's on the panel as well. So,
Before we do that, power, passion, promise, peace, and purpose. Now we can go.
Everything we do should lead you down the path of our 5 Ps. And those are our 5 Ps as you see on our screen. make sure that everything we do sends you down a path to one of those 5 P's. Thank you, 3J, because listen, Miss Nikki would have put me on the spot for not saying it.
Yeah, I had to help you this time.
Listen, let's bring in our panel and our brother, super producer Jackie. Why don't we go ahead and do that?
Gang.
Awesome.
Did we all introduce ourselves?
We're about to.
Okay, bet.
I'm gonna go ahead and let our
we just got up. What you mean did we introduce ourselves?
No, because I just realized we didn't say anything. That's why I was like, did we introduce ourselves? But keep it going. Let's flow. I like the flow. Let's get live.
Yeah, go ahead, Brennen B. Why don't you say something to the peoples, man?
Listen, man, I'm glad to be back. I missed y'all last week, man, but you know what it is. Black at it to win, black at it again. Let's go. I'm ready for the combo. I'm ready for the combo.
And listen, also on the panel tonight with us, a very special guest to the encounter, the Reverend Dr. C. Anthony Hunt, which I reached out and he immediately said yes to this. So we just thank you for being on.
Hey.
Why don't you share a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, and what is amazing and special about my brother, Tony Hunt.
Well, thank y'all. I'm just I'm sitting here in Baltimore, in the Baltimore area, but I'm from Washington, D.C. I'm a native Washingtonian, Chocolate City. When it was Chocolate City, I know y'all had some conversations about gentrification. So that plays into the conversation tonight. And I'm just about making some peace in community. Everything I do, I'm a pastor in Baltimore, and I teach philosophy and religion. So in a number of places. Oh, you're showing my books now? I didn't come to sell books, but I've written 14. That's the latest. Hope Sings. Holding on to Hope is before that. A lot of my work deals with the intersections of religion and race, and I think that's why Pastor Ramon invited me on to talk about these words in the context of some of my work. Looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, and Kimberly Walker.
You said you wrote 14 books?
14 books. 1-4. I'm working on.
Yeah.
I'm working on number 15 now. It drops at the end of this year. 15. Yeah.
That's
Hey.
Things that matter. Things that matter. On 12 things that matter. Race, justice, peace, love. You name it. I'm gonna be talking about. I might even drop the N word in there. You know, in terms of
Like that.
because I have a section in there on race matters. Yeah. So that's 15.
Yeah.
It's coming up.
That's tough.
Listen, man, that's why we had to have you on this encounter, man.
Mm-hmm.
Helen Ellis says, Gethsemane United Methodist Church 2004 anniversary speaker.
Yep.
So you got a lot of shout outs coming your way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Listen,
remember?
them church folks, they remember them anniversary preachers.
That's
Hey,
it, man.
It's a long time
Kimberly
ago.
Walker says, thank you, Reverend Dr. Tony Hunt. So that's Kimberly Walker. And you got a lot of folks who are just happy to see you on, man. So, they're giving you shout outs already, man. So I know I got the right person for it.
Glad to be here.
That's it.
So could we do something?
Yeah, I see you, Terry. How you doing, Terry?
What we doing this time? So it's usually you to bring this stuff up. So let's go different. So Brother Brent, since you were the one that decided to come up with this amazing topic, this the realest topic we've had, introduce what we about to get into, bro, if you don't mind. Tell the people what we about to get into.
Man, we about to have a nice conversation about a word that has a lot of misunderstanding around it. That's what I'll say.
Okay.
A lot of misunderstanding around it. And we're gonna have a real conversation about what it means to really own and like to create something and to take back what is taken from you.
I like that. I like that. I like that. So let's start
this
off
first, and actually, I can lead into the clip too. But Dr. Hunt, if you can, somebody asked for a link to your books. So if you could drop that or grab that and drop it in the comments at some time. That'd be dope because people are asking for it.
I'll give it to you right now. My website, canthonyhunt.com. Real simple. canthonyhunt.com. Last page, you can Go get them all, or go to Amazon, Barnes and Noble. All of them are still in publication. Some of them in the fourth or fifth printing. So I can put it in the
That's what's
chat
up.
too. But see Anthony Hunt. You see it across the stream.com. That's it.
All right.
We
You get
got
all
you. I
Listen,
got
y'all know
it.
where to go get them
I
now.
just put it on Facebook too, so
Hey,
I
we be
appreciate it.
live in
I
there.
didn't come to sell books, but thank you. Appreciate it.
nah,
Mm-hmm.
man.
We gotta make
Listen,
sure
we all
you
about
get
promoting what
yours
we
too,
do.
bro.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So we actually as Ray said, we had a dope conversation last week with a very good friend of mine, a high school friend of mine, somebody that inspired me way back in high school to really look into this word and what it really meant, and have a different appreciation for it. And so we're gonna play a little clip from it, and we got some more information because y'all gonna get to see the whole thing. But we'll talk about it right after the clip.
Gang, gang.
This is a conversation I wanted to have. And again, bro, inspired by your paper, because it helped me to have an appreciation for the word versus the negative connotation that it has in the world. And I think that was mainly because of the origins. Like when I read your paper and everything, and that's the kind of the first thing I want you to talk about is those origins of the word. Like, where from your research did the word originate from?
No doubt. And one thing that I'll do too is like share information I found out since too, right? So, the paper that Boost is talking about, like, was like a timeline that showed the evolution of the actual word itself versus like how it was used and why it was used, right? So what the letters looked like versus how society was using it. And so essentially, European Western society, the backbone of much of their languages are two languages, Greek and Latin, right? Mm-hmm. Their words, they had two words that sound pretty similar to each other, right? And neither of them necessarily meant good things. Negro, or variations of it, which meant black or dark, and then necro, which meant death. So when they encounter these people who have darker skin or just have an abundance of melanin, and they're equating it with these things that are not necessarily good, right? There's already this negative connotation that can kind of set in around who these people are, because the words you would use to describe them often have this association with negativity, right? Mm-hmm. Especially in places in Europe where the dark is a terrifying thing, because what season is terrible in Europe? Winter. And what happens in winter? It gets really dark, right? Like plagues happen in Europe. The Black Plague happened in Europe, right? Like all these concepts around darkness were very negative, and a lot of their roots in terms of talking about darkness were either literal black or about death, necro or negro, right? So encountering these people who you're already in some competition with in terms of having power in the world, when there are decisions and choices made by, I want to say, what was his name? Zurara is his last name. There are choices, and he's a Portuguese, he was in the Portuguese royal courts. When there was choices made to be like, you know what, in order to take back power from these dark-skinned people who already kind of ruled our region, which were the Moors, which is another term that gets used, and that's a whole other conversation we could talk about with the term Moor and people who call themselves Moors. That's a whole other conversation. But in order to take back the power from these people who are Moors, who also we associate with this dark skin, we have to have a slander campaign around how inferior and barbaric these people are, even though they taught us for 700 years. But in order to get power back and have power over them, we have to share this narrative. We have to spread it across Europe and into the continent, right? So from there, the negative attitudes around these people and the language was already kind of set. But then when the slave trade actually got like rocking and rolling, you had all these European people who were influenced by Greek and Latin languages, whether you were speaking English or speaking Portuguese or Spanish, whatever.
That happened just like that.
Oh man,
that was quick.
I think it might have cut off a little early.
That's fine.
Yeah, it did. It cut off a little early. That's cool. Listen, I actually just dropped the link in the chat. Yeah, we're gonna keep going. We're not letting this stop. We worked too long for this. Yo, the link is in the chat for y'all to see the full version. It's gonna premiere Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up to get like a reminder on your YouTube channel so you can catch the episode or whatever. But yo, basically, my boy, he broke down the history and how in the difference between the words that the Portuguese and the Europeans use versus the original words that came out of Africa. One of them being negus, and I believe it was ngr, and it was injure, and in its pronunciation, I believe it was in Egypt. And so from there, I like when I first read his paper, my thought on the word, and we'll discuss. I want to discuss the us friendly word first, because I think that the us friendly word is where we can find strength and take ownership of what is ours. So that's nigga, Nigga, or however you spell it. If you throw the H at the end, do your thing. But for me, his paper.
Here we go. That's good.
Right. For me, his paper brought out a different system of appreciation for how, and especially in hip hop culture, we had taken again a negative word that came from a positive word. The word negus means it was used for like deities and royalty. And so for us to call each other negus, and that's negus, that was positive. And we understand the word was perverted and things like that and taken and changed. But now, as I think about more times when I use it in 2021, and I use nigga, Nigga, I'm talking about my bros. I'm talking about the people I love and I care about. But there also is, a sense of that that isn't positive. So I would just like everybody to go ahead and just give your thoughts on the word. Just raw thoughts on the word nigga.
Are we talking Nigga or ER? Let me make sure which one we jump into.
We're going with the A first.
Oh, going with the A first. All right, bet. All right, go ahead.
Well, I want to yield to
I was about to
Dr. Hunt.
Dr. Hunt, can you share what you feel about it?
We can't hear you, Dr. Hunt.
You muted yourself, Dr. Hunt.
No. He's not muted? Okay. Oh, what happened? Oh,
if you're not muted and we still can't hear you, just log out real quick and then come back in, and we should be able to hear you then.
All right, so Pastor, you want to talk about the word?
Well, I do want to. While he's doing that, I'll read this comment down here.
Okay.
From Tiffany. She said, "I was not allowed to say either word growing up. Even if it was in a song, I was told to skip it."
Wow.
Wow. And I know a lot of people who kind of have that same similar story, where they were not allowed to say it, but they heard it, and so I know for a lot of people they hear it. Dr. Hunt, is your sound back on yet?
I don't think he's back. He's frozen.
Okay,
there you go. Now you back.
Can you hear me now?
Are you with us?
Yes, there you go. There we go. There we go.
Okay.
Let's get it.
All right. Okay. Yeah. I think Brennan, that's where I'm at with it. I think the words have different connotations. Number one, if we Randall Kennedy did, I think, some of the better work on just bringing it into the Western American context in 20 years ago in his book Nigger. And so in that book, he said it's the most that word is the most consequential social insult, and it's all over. It's in sports. It's in politics. It's in entertainment. It's in every circle that around dinner tables. That word is used probably more than any other term as an insulting term constructed to dehumanize people in America. So we bring it to America. So, but the flip on that, the semantic flip on that, from the etymological context of moving it from nigger to nigga, was, I believe, it takes on ownership. So, like, in short order, not everybody can use use the NIGGA. You can't just, unless you black. So the way code switching has worked, you can't be white and really go there, in that context. So NIGGA is a form of code switching, as I've experienced it, where it brings back, we've taken that, those of us of African descent have taken the word and really flipped the script on the insult. um, and it's a form of ownership. And so if you my nigga, we're down, right? It has an entendre to it that many people say, well, we want to get rid of it, expunge both terms from the lexicon, but it's hard to do it in our culture, particularly in hip hop culture, because it takes on a form of semantic, and some semantics have power. Words have power that we own it in the black community. So, it's a difference between, nigger and nigga are two different things. They have two different meanings, and you kind of know when you're down with your niggas, kind of thing. So. It's like your dog. Dog has an entendre. You can be a dog and be lazy, be trifling, be sorry, but if you got dog in you, that takes on a different connotation. For those who know when you got some dog in you, that means you got game, and it's the same thing with niggas. So I'll conclude by saying, so when what gets me is the hip hop philosopher Michael Eric Dyson, who inspires me. He says, I write books like niggas write hooks. I go around saying the same thing. I'm a United Methodist pastor, right? And I travel. I don't know who's watching. I see some of my students on here, Reverend Dr. Terry Moore and some others on here tonight. They know that we get down in the classroom because I have to reinterpret theology and philosophy to bring it into the context of those who will be called niggas in their communities, and therefore need to be able to retranscribe and retranslate. And so when I'm writing a book, I'm writing it from the context of coming from the hood of DC, coming from Southeast DC. That's where I grew up. And it's the same thing. You don't say you come from Southeast. You say you come from Southeast, kind of thing. The difference between Southeast and Southeast. And if you didn't come from Southeast and Anacostia, you can't say Southeast. You gotta say Southeast, kind of thing. So it's a whole difference. So nigga takes on a power. It's a powerful construct for humanizing oppression, and bringing a dehumanizing word to the. And so that's why it's so powerful in hip hop culture, is because you can't just expunge it and say we shouldn't say it, and it inspires me, like I say, because I write books like niggas write hooks.
Right.
Yeah.
Y'all missed that.
Dr. Dyson is a cool guy, man.
Yeah.
I will say for me, I think it's interesting because Tiffany writes this question in the chat. She says, do you ever feel weird using it in mixed company though? And I tell you, it's interesting because for me, I think there is a time and place for everything. The Bible even says that, right? And so, I have been a part of a lot of multi-ethnic, multicultural, multi-diverse congregations over the last couple of years. And so it's been an interesting dynamic for me because this is a conversation that doesn't really come up, but it's kind of skipped around, But I am mindful of who's around me. Now, I will say, Ramon Jackson will tell you, there are some Latinx folks or Latinos or Hispanics that I have been around. I'll never forget sitting in the Starbucks coffee shop, and it was a group of young Latinos sitting beside me, and they were listening to hip hop.
Oh,
and
right.
They were clearly like, "Hey, yo, nigga, give me one of them. You know, like give me something to drink." And I remember hearing it, and I was a little vexed at the moment because I wasn't sure how I should be receiving the fact that they were saying it. But I think it is. There are times for me that black and brown culture or people of color, I see a resemblance of our struggle. I see a resemblance of our life, and I'm okay with certain people around me using the word. But it's very interesting because I don't feel like all Latinas can use it. I don't feel like all brown people can use it. I think you know when you know, and it's an inner thing. And I don't even know how to explain that totally. I just know it's an inner thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that.
You got to be from the ilk. If you ain't cut from that ilk, you can't use it.
gotta come from the ilk, man. I want to go back to, I think, Dr. Tony Keith when he was on, and we talked about the hip hop culture. Mm-hmm. We find in the hip hop culture, right? Like the hip hop culture does not make excuses. It does not. It's gonna be real mm-hmm. with you and straight up truthful. Mm-hmm. And I think the hip hop culture has a level of truth in it that sometimes the lowercase c church does not always have, because it's willing to address some things that maybe we as the lowercase c church won't address. But I think for me, it's a matter of just knowing, right? Like you kind of know, right? Like you just know. And I think when you identify with either the struggle or you identify with the hip hop culture, there's a level of understanding that just exists. You know what I'm saying? It's the people that they say it, but they're gonna say it with their chest. That's what that's what your man say. If you're gonna say it with your chest. You know what I'm saying? And so when black and brown people say it, if I'm around you and you like, oh yeah, that's my nigga right there, and you don't have, and I can tell there's no sense of like scaredness or fear, or can I say it? We cool. But the moment I feel that tension, I know, you know what I'm saying, like, nah, you
ain't used to
like,
it. You ain't from that ilk. You ain't from around here.
You ain't from that ilk.
So don't come around here.
I think you're right on that, because both terms elicit kind of a visceral response, right? And I think either one, depending on the audience who's speaking the term. So they're both loaded, with psychosocial meaning. Words have meaning, and I don't go around using either term, to be honest with you, on a regular basis. I just, as I'm thinking about it, I relate with Dyson on that one. But I think they do elicit they have existential meaning about who we are. If we really are rooted in the culture, because you can't escape the fact that people view people of African descent, still today as NIGGR. It's being spoken around dinner tables right now. In Methodist circles, Lord have mercy.
With some unseasoned chicken.
I'm with family, and just throwing it out, just like they used to call Dr. King Martin Luther King. It's just the way it is. So we can't cast aspersions on any notion that these terms have been expunged from culture and American psyche and conscience, because they're there. And so how do we reappropriate and retranscribe the language to have meaning, one way or another? But do we go around? I think we go around trying to understand the terms, but do we go around? I don't go around, calling myself a nigga. It's just, it's kind of, folk know who we are and whatever circles we're traveling in, because you're right. We have to pick the context in which we use those terms, or identify with those terms.
Yeah. And see, I actually have a little bit of a different view. Like I've used it in spaces of multicultural people, but I've only used it in referring to my nigga. Like, and I don't like I might, and it's not all places. It's definitely more of a casual and I would say like a friendly situation. If somebody asks you like, hey, do you know Ray? Oh yeah, that's my nigga. Like that's my guy. That's my bro. And it's not. And again, it's not with everybody. It's not in all multicultural situations. But like that's my guy, and I use it as a term of endearment. But I'm also very clear about the lines that are drawn. Like and kind of Ray, you laid it out, bro. It's like if you're not from it, you can't use it. And it's just because it's for me is very personal in that like for all the negative connotation and the reason why we're having this conversation is because something was taken away from us. Like the word niggas was taken away from us and turned into nigger. And I don't like that. And so like I'm not gonna feed into that negative narrative about the word. No, these are my niggas. I love them. These are translating into 2020. Like these are kings to me. And now I will 100% admit I don't always use it in a positive light. It's not always like that's my nigga. Sometimes it's like these niggas tripping. It's something like that, or somebody wilding, or just like doing something that I don't appreciate. But in that same vein, I believe for me, it reflects back on the duality of like I don't like every black person. Every black person isn't somebody that I would associate with, but they still are me. Like they still are a part of like who I am, my community. And so it's like it's that wrestling with even within ourselves. Like we all know, if we have a conversation about criminal violence. Police violence against black people, somebody's going to bring up black on black crime. And that's that duality that I see the same in the word and how I use it. And so, yeah, it's absolutely a struggle for me. Not necessarily in using it, but making sure I use it in a way that doesn't reinforce the negative connotations of it. And so that's something that I'm holding myself accountable to. But listen, we all sin and fall short.
Well, so it's interesting because Brendan, you talk about the lines, right? So JJ Clyde, who's watching on YouTube, he says, where do we draw the line for non-black and brown people saying the word? I love to know your thoughts on where that line exists. I know for me, man,
where does the line exist for calling people using the word?
We're using the word for basically white people. So let me say this. I had a gentleman that was on a retreat with me one year, and he is a white gentleman, has a white son, and he talked about his white son who was friends with a brother of color. He talks about the churches and how there was one white church, there was one black church, and they were very close in proximity. And in this conversation, he talks about the fact that his son and him, felt cool enough with his black friend to use the word. He says it. He says, we say the word nigga, and again, right? It goes back to earlier when I talked about the uncomfort in him saying it. You could tell he was uncomfortable saying it to me, right? And so I let it go the first time. And then he kind of goes back to it again. And he continues the conversation. He says, I don't understand the tension around the word, nigga. And I'm thinking, all right, Jack, you got one more time to say this word.
Grace and mercy shall follow him the rest of his life.
And he said it one more time. And I proceeded to tell him that, look, you might say it around them, but this ain't the place. I ain't that person, and you need to refrain from it. Because I think we know inside there's a trigger that happens, right? Like when you understand the context of the word, the history of the word, you realize, again, your instincts sometimes speak. Some people will say your instincts are the Holy Spirit, however you want to take it. I think internally you just know. And I think there are those moments where, I'm going to be real. First of all, let me say this. I don't think anybody white should ever use the word. I'm not with it. I don't think anybody white should ever use the word. But I will say this. There is times where there is healthy conversation. I still prefer for white people to say, N-word. That's just how I'm built. I prefer you to say it that way because I just think there are times when people try to say it and they're pushing their own want, right, and own desire to feel like they can be comfortable with it. And I don't think they should ever be comfortable with it. I think it has too much of a history, too much of a past. And I personally don't think that white people should ever use the word. And I think it's okay to say that because I think we as people of color have been banned from so much. There is so much we cannot do, so many places we cannot be, so many ways we can't present ourselves, so much of our natural selves that we can't bring to the forefront. It might go unspoken, but it's real. That we are inhibited from doing so much stuff in this country. And I think it's okay to say that there's something that white people can't do. Period.
It has.
This made me think of a clip that I had seen. I think it was earlier this year of the spelling bee when they had a little white kid up there and he had to spell Negus and he kept trying to have dude repeat it. I ain't gonna lie.
I do remember
that. It made me laugh because the first time I seen it, I was like, "Yo, what? Like, who let this happen? Like, who let this on national TV?"
Yeah, I saw that.
I saw that. Yeah, and I think to Kim Kai, she just dropped in the chat like she won't ever use the word on a human level, and I 100% completely understand that. And it's not to say that I feel like everybody should use it or everybody shouldn't. I just feel like for me, it's a personal statement of taking back what was taken from my culture, my people. And using the word in the translation of the word to 2021, the translation of the word in a way that is uplifting for my people.
Dr. Hunt, yeah, you want to say something? Mm-hmm.
No, I was just going to add. I think it has cultural the NIGGA has cultural implications, and it to raise the conversation to a level of appropriation. So it's like anything else in Black culture that we own, the way we choose to dress, our Afrocultural perspectives, our language, our code switching. So much has been taken from blackness in westernized culture, been stripped through slavery, through Jim Crow, through all of the accoutrements of oppression, economic, social, and racial oppression. And so those things that we own, the way we dress, the way we sing, the way we use, the way we flip language, this is just another piece of it. The use of the ownership of the NIGGA again. And so who has the right to appropriate that? Only those who own it have the right to allow it. And it depends on what the owner says.
Yeah.
So some of us might feel open to, okay, it's cool with me that you might use that word in my presence. Some of us don't want to hear it, like myself. I don't want to hear it. Because you don't have the right to appropriate what I don't allow you to use. That's mine. If I'm free, right? And so it's just like singing hip hop. Some can be down with it, some can't. Some don't want to hear it from certain people of certain hue. So I think it's a matter of appropriation because it is embedded in our culture, much of Black culture, and that's why it's licensed in some Latinx circles and maybe even some white circles, depending on that's why Eminem can rap because he's the owner. We own hip hop. Hip hop came out of the hood of New York and the hood of Louisiana, and so we allow Eminem to rap, and if not, we won't buy his stuff. And it's the same thing with allowing, whether we decide to allow, something that we own to be appropriated among us, as I see it.
I'm just curious, Dr. Hunt. Do you, as a professor of African American Studies,
Mm-hmm.
do you see this does this conversation come up in your own teaching?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
How often and what
Yeah.
what complexities do you have around this as a professor?
Yeah. I teach in 3 PWIs. I teach in 3 theological schools that are predominantly white institutions, and I might have some people on here who know, that, right? And they know when we get in class, we get down, because what my job is to retranscribe westernized ways of understanding the world, understanding God. And that's why I'm in the classroom. So whether I have white students or black students in the classroom, I only get I might be the only black professor many of my students ever see. So it's my job to retranscribe, everything. So we end up preaching a little bit, singing a little bit, rapping a little bit, all that. And I very seldom use lecture notes because that's just my style, just like we freestyling here. So it's just, So we might talk about DMX in the same conversation as Augustine, that kind of stuff, right?
That's my boy. That's my boy.
So you know what I'm saying. We might talk about Tupac and and John Wesley, because our job is to retranscribe and make relevant what we. So the word could come up. Let me give you an example. When in 2008, when Senator Barack Obama was running for president, we had a big debate in class as to whether he was a brother or not.
Yeah, we did.
We went at it, and some folk on here might have been in that class. And I finally just told him, this was before he was elected. I said, he's a bruh. Y'all just watch. He gonna be treated like a bruh, and and some of the white students in class were kind of shocked we went there. But, I said, in America, there's no such thing as post-racism, racial culture. It's still racism in America, so we have to deal with it. So we might work through the etymology of a word like the NIGGA or GGER in class, because it matters. It matters that the curse of Ham matters if we were to go theological and biblical. That the image of the curse of Ham matters, because that's all on people's theology, and so we have to expunge that. I don't mean to get too deep, but we need to, it goes back. It goes back centuries and millennia. These notions in the Bible. These notions of the dehumanizing effects of blackness, Egypt, Ethiopia, Kush, so on. Ray, you pushing me, so I didn't, I didn't want to go there, but you pushing me.
No, go there.
So don't,
I'm sorry. There's one question that I do have, because you brought up the curse of Ham, and that's actually an amazing. I'm glad you said that. So there has been I've been in talks and I've been in debates about who really cursed Ham. Was it Noah or was it God? You know what I'm saying? And I think that conversation alone was like, well, we're here this way because God cursed, Ham, and this is why we are. Then it's like, no, Noah cursed Ham, and this is so. I guess the main thing what goes into that, who really cursed who to make it, or to make us think, shall we say, in this portion, that this is why colors have been cursed to the point nigger comes out, and that's what we are today.
Right, and that goes way back, Jay, because right, so that's a classic example of the misappropriation of scripture for the purposes of
Mm-hmm.
racial oppression over centuries, where now that became so embedded in Western Christianity that people started to see it as true that God cursed
Mm-hmm.
Ham. What it didn't, the scripture doesn't tell us that if we read it
Right.
carefully. But that's the kind
Mm-hmm.
of misappropriation that killed black folk all over the world, that kind of thing.
Right.
And so
Okay.
anytime we can reclaim truth, you know, going back to the word Nigger, Nigga, anytime we can reclaim, and reappropriate truth, it becomes empowering, and that's a classic question and example of that. The whole so-called
So,
curse of Ham. Yeah, just
right. So
like
I guess my question.
slaves be obedient to your master.
Mhm.
That's a
Oh,
misappropriation of a
mhm.
culturalized of a contextualized concern of the Apostle Paul. If it applied to black people, Paul was wrong. But don't get me to preaching. Okay, that's all I'm trying to say. So I mean, so
Listen,
all of this can be
Ah,
culturally conditioned by it can be culturally conditioned by and also be weaponization for the purposes of oppression, just like the Niggr. So we reclaim that to empower us, just like we reclaim the truth that Paul wasn't talking about black people when he said slaves
yeah.
be obedient to your master, right? So
Or
on and so on.
or we
For that.
reclaim the full Bible from what we
Right.
thought was the Bible when it was given to us. And so, like in all these places, we're talking about
Hmm.
reclaiming, and
Yeah.
now we're bringing the word nigga.
Exactly. This is this this
And so,
just this
like,
just
Thank
brings
you
so,
it to
for
the
that.
point.
so
This just
Thank you.
brings it to the
Thank you.
millennials, right? This just brings the whole story, just like Ethiopia, Egypt, Kush, black
Mm-hmm.
people existed,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
y'all started with, in wealth and prosperity and building pyramids and
Mm-hmm.
all through Lower Mesopotamia. Black folk have been empowering the world since its creation, but westernized culture kind of took that away, and this is another powerful means that millennials are saying, nah, this is our little word, and we're gonna use it to make music, to write hooks, to do what we
right,
want, and
right,
y'all can't tell us not to
right,
do it, and I'm good
right.
with that.
So
you know
so so Duck, my question, with the
uh
truth that you have just given, how do we snatch back? Like, how do we reclaim all of
And
it?
can I add to that
Oh,
though?
yeah, by all
I want to
means.
ask this question. This conversation is going, man.
And I
It's
told
great,
you it was gonna go.
but I really Dr. Hunt, we talked so much about Western civilization and its manipulation of theology. My grandmother's watching tonight, and I'm so glad you all brought that up because we were just talking about the scripture that talks about slave obey your masters and how it was used. And she didn't even know it was in the Bible, so I'm so glad that you
mhm,
brought that up. But we see that in so much. I love you said I'm good with that. That younger people are taking back the power,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not just in the word nigger, right? Like we see it in Brendan and I have our locks, right? And so
yeah.
by black society, the older, and I wonder how you might deal with this because older black society can sometimes see your dreadlocks as a sign of
Mhm.
hood
Gang
or
related,
gang related or bad.
street,
We see
name can go on.
we've taken hip hop culture, the way we dress, our
Mhm.
hoodies. I preached for the Table Church, which is one of the church I'm at, and the last one of the last messages I bought it in a hoodie. I don't normally preach in a hoodie, but I bought it in a hoodie because I said to them, I said, "Is a diverse congregation. I want you to remember that one of your pastors is wearing a hoodie to preach. So the next time you walk past a black person with a hoodie, your immediate thought is not that's a nigger, right?
Mhm. Right.
but your immediate thought is, oh, he looks like my pastor.
Right.
And I wonder, is there a balance of that place? Because there are a lot of older people that, and I get it, right? They've been through a traumatic phase in their life where they've had to conform by pressing their hair. They could not wear braids. The old quote was "white is right," right? So anything close to white was right. We talk about the way that church has even talked about sacred spaces is quietness, right? Quiet, only quietness is sacred, or only certain music is sacred. And I wonder, how do we as people, how do we as people of faith, how do we as a church, how do we begin to move ourselves in a place where we free ourselves from those oppressive Western civilized thoughts that have for so long governed us as a people and as a church? Is that something that you find yourself teaching or helping to people to liberate themselves?
Sure. I teach most of the people I teach are in my 20s, right? In their 20s, right? So I'm like, look, and so I think I think that's a loaded concern that really leans into this conversation around the use of language, use of culture. Yeah. Hip hop culture is here to stay, period. That's it. That's number one. Number two, the for instance, the church has what I tell folk and what my students teach me is that it's not hip hop culture trying to figure out the church. It's church trying to figure out hip hop culture. So we got to understand that. So why is why are we in a post-Christian reality? We need the wisdom of I believe we need the wisdom of, I believe common is right, common sense. Y'all can tell I listen to a little bit of hip hop, but common sense. He broke this line in Glory, right? Y'all remember Glory? He said we need the wisdom of the elders and the energy of the young. We need both. Okay. So we need interchange. We need to be whole. We need it all. Right? There are going to be some people, for instance, going back to the conversation, who are not good with use of either word. If they, they might be a little older, they might be younger. So we're not a monolithic reality as a culture or cultures. Hip hop is not monolithic, but we need space for it all, right? And Common was dead right. We need both. So we need to be, we need to get with, I have a lot of conversation about Black Lives Matter. I know we all over the place today, but I'm a philosopher, so I go all over the place. Okay.
Keep going.
But black, people in the church are saying, I don't get Black Lives Matter. And Black Lives Matter, many in Black Lives Matter are saying, I don't want anything to do with the church. But movement needs it all. For us to get to another level in society, we need everybody to vote. Not just the young, not just the old, and vote right. Lord have mercy. Okay, so we need to stay in conversation, and that's where I think we're losing it, or we can gain more, is by having these kind of robust conversations across generations. So I appreciate y'all bringing an old professor to your conversation, because it's just kind of cool. I try to hang out with people. My practice is to hang out with people a lot younger than me because they keep me fresh, right? They keep my theology and philosophizing fresh. Because that's who I'm trying to reach. So when you call me, I'm like, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'll be there, right? Kind of thing. I know what we're talking about, huh?
Yeah, I'm done. We laugh because we don't look at you as old.
Yeah, when you say you bring an old man that like me, you like where?
But I think to Kim Carr's part, Kim Carr said the whale is a perfect example of this. I think that is part of the reason why we built the whale, because in traditional church, again, the well is not against traditional church. There are parts of us. Tradition is something that forms naturally. So even the well will have its traditions. But we've learned that in traditional church, sometimes we won't push the envelope. And I think for us, we want to push the envelope because these are conversations
we're not structured.
Well, we're structured. We're structured.
No,
we're not structured in the same way that some other places are. And I think we're willing to have the conversation that
later.
Sometimes we need to have. I think we had Dr. Tony Keith on the beginning of the year. We talked about hip hop and we talked about church. And Dr. Keith, you brought this up. But there's this place where I think the church, hip hop has embraced church because hip hop is a movement of the people, and those people are oftentimes products of the church. But oftentimes church has not embraced hip hop. I think hip hop is a little too real for the church in some places, and in certain places. Right? Like
we're strong.
And I think, but also hip hop is all about, look, if we can't be in our total truth, then we don't want to. We're not gonna be it. Right? Hip hop is like you either bring in total truth or you're not bringing it at all. And in some places the church has tried to
no ghostwriting.
Perfect word. That was a perfect word for that. Yes, no ghost.
That's just Gen X. That's just culture too. You know, folks don't want phoniness. You know, they don't want it real, and raw. You know, and if it's not, y'all know. You know, really.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's cool. How do we deal with that though? Because you said something. I think you said something a few minutes ago. You said we all have to vote, right, for the right cause.
Yeah, right.
Then how do we get to the place where hip hop culture and the church are willing to have the tough conversations so that we can get back to a place where we're moving unanimously towards righteousness, right? Because if hip hop is one place and the church is another place, that's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. This conversation is deep. Now, I'm a historian of the civil rights movement, right? So look, I do my primary work on civil rights, beloved community, King stuff. So look, there's always been a hip hop called a generation, or a generation that's young, like John Lewis and Stokely Carmichael and Marion Barry were killing it in the 1960s, and the church didn't want anything to do with them. So this stuff is not new. I'm not going to go real long on that, but this is not new. This conversation, and I think what it means is that we can learn from history that eventually some people got on the same accord and got voting rights done, got some economics done, got some people in houses, that kind of thing. So this is a good tension, right? To be talking about words, talking about culture, talking about, but again, those of us who have been around for a minute, since y'all don't want to call me old, those of us who've been around for a minute can not only can learn a whole lot, and be willing to get out of the way and let the church and society and government, y'all not going to lead the way some of us led or didn't lead 20 years ago. And that's, some of us just need to get out of the way, right? And say, I'm gonna develop the spiritual discipline to get my church ready for Ray Jackson to come to Baltimore, that kind of thing, But some of us just don't want to get out of the way.
That's so
we
true.
Drunk with power. We drunk with power, And so every generation can learn that from the past, But this is not the first time we've gone through this tension. It was SNCC back in the day. It wasn't Black Lives. It was Black Power back in the day. Kwame Ture and Stokely Carmichael, back in the day, who were just killing it, And the status quo didn't want anything to do with them. But without a Stokely Carmichael, we wouldn't be here,
Wow.
So y'all, I mean,
it goes to the difference and acceptance.
Again.
As in, now I was answering Pastor Moan's question. How do we move further into this? And I said I think it's the we have to, the church has to accept hip hop. Hip hop has to accept the church. And on just simple ways, the church has to accept the hip hop is street. The street the hip hop has to accept that church is holy. And the funny thing is, both have something in common, which is Christ. Mm-hmm. Because Christ was hip hop and he was holy. He literally went a whole, like, he was a renegade, for real, for real. When it came to how he did things, it was hip hop. You're not telling me how I'm going to do this. You're not going to direct me how I'm going to do this. God gave me this. I'm still holy. I'm still about y'all, but he gave me this way to do it. I think if the church understood that about hip hop, just like hip hop understands that about the church, we can make that blend. We can make that bond. Mm-hmm. But it has to come to an acceptance of, hey, we're different. Like black and white people. You're white, I'm black, but we're still the same. We still represent the same thing. So at the end, it comes to the acceptance, the differences of each other. And I think that alone will make a spark. I ain't gonna say it's gonna change it, but I think it'll make a spark.
I love it. Lamar says, my professor, Dr. Hunt, we getting education today.
Oh, man. Hey, Lamar, what's up, man? Hey, what's up, Bishop? Hey, man, he's a bishop. I taught him, though. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah, you're right. We just need to keep working with it.
And, you know, I actually just wrote in the chat something that...
Go ahead, Brennan.
I wrote in the chat, and something that Miss Nikki, brought up was, are we reclaiming kind of the word nigger with the hard ER, or are we going all the way back to negus? And so kind of to what you were saying, Dr. Hunt or Tony, like it's the translations. Like it was translated from negus to nigger, and now it's the translation to nigga for contextual. So it's like to me, and kind of what I put in this comment. I think nigga is a reflection of like our authentic experience right now. It both has negative and positive like connotations right now. Like there's a negative and positive side to just being black in America. Like we still are achieving and being kings and queens and doing great things and overcoming, doing all of the things that we are, built and made to do. But there are some negative things that come with that word, come with being black. We kind of seeing it, in two trials right now, but it's like, we're seeing both sides of it in a sense, we're seeing, and Ray, we talked about this earlier, the lawyers in the trial, for the people who killed Ahmaud Arbery, because I don't like to call it Ahmaud Arbery's trial because he's not on trial. He was murdered.
Right. Yeah.
But and I don't remember their names and don't want to. But for those gentlemen, like the lawyers for them tried to literally get the case, thrown out in a mistrial because Ahmaud Arbery's mother cried in the proceedings, and on the flip side of that, we see Kyle Rittenhouse, his mother being comforted while crying in the courtroom, and there's no it's like you literally can see it sometimes. You can just see like the duality of like and the negativity of just being black. And that's why I feel like the word, it absolutely it brings to the forefront both sides. Like absolutely, we're achieving, we're doing great things. We're everything we think we can be. For real, we doing it. We can see it all the time. But at the same time, we got to deal with this other stuff.
So Brennan, so main question, which is the main purpose of this conversation, do we cancel it?
Bro, you already know where I stand on it. Y'all my niggas, man. What we doing here, man?
What you think, Doc?
I don't think we cancel it. Because I don't agree with canceling what is us and what is originally us. And so that and like again, for a long time, I absolutely had a bad view of this word until I seen where its roots came from. And I think it is funny because it's like, even as we look at like church and things like that, there are a bunch of, let's say, black people who don't do church because of what was done through the church in slavery.
You better
and
take
so
this to a
us
whole
as Christians, it kind of, sometimes it baffles me because it's a similar situation. You know, like there's nothing wrong with Christianity or, you know, the religion of Christianity. But when it's taken as a tool and weaponized, then it's something different. You feel me? And so like right now we have kind of similar, like we got people, black people who don't want to do church because of what the church did to black people. And right now we got people who don't want to use the word nigga because of what white people made it.
Facts. Very true.
And so it's like, but as church folks, we want all black people to come back to church, but we don't want black people to use the word that was originally theirs.
Doc, you look like you was about to get ready to tag in and say something. What you got, sir?
We can't hear you, Doc.
Yeah. He back yet? All right, when he comes back, bro. What about you? We cancel or we keep? Pastor.
Let me see if Doc comes back in. I'd like to hear what.
There you go.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I'm kind of with Brennan, but I think it depends. Okay, so like the NIGGR, you know, I think we just need to cancel it. You know, we need to. It's a symbol of racism, racial oppression, and if we can expunge that. Now, you know, that's a complex concern, you know, but it's a symbol like the Confederate flag is a symbol, like like the Klan is a symbol. It's a symbol of oppression. So anybody, my students know who on here who came through tonight. I appreciate all of you. That anything that dehumanizes, I think we need to cancel. I don't believe the NIGGA dehumanizes in its whole. I think it is owned, and I think there's a difference in ownership and that which has dehumanized people of darker hue. So I think one word, cancel it. Whatever that takes. But that's like canceling racism. Racial oppression, economic oppression. Let's cancel it. Let's kill it. Period. I'm an absolutist when it comes to exterminating oppression. I don't believe the NIGGA is oppressive as I started. I think it's a symbol in its whole. Now, I think people should have a choice as to how they want to use the word. That doesn't mean it's canceled. Not everybody gonna feel comfortable with this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Fact. True fact.
They're going to write y'all later. Huh?
Come on, Pastor. What you got, Pastor?
No,
we ready for it.
I think for me, it's interesting because Brendan, I appreciate you, man, for pushing us on this conversation.
Yeah, man.
This has been a conversation that's been a long time in the coming.
5 months.
And I will admit that I have a very wide feelings about this conversation. On one hand, there's a place where I feel uncomfortable using the word at times, and in certain places, I will admit, like I'm not afraid to admit that I do use the word. I mean, I think what I like to see is more conversations like this, so we figure out where we're headed. I think what I don't want to see is us step back and not have the conversation. I think it's interesting, and I know there's a question I was going to ask later to both Brennan, you, and Dr. Hunt about the fact that there are a lot of older folks that will say, oh, no, we shouldn't use the word. And they're self-righteous. They'll stand up in church. Oh, we shouldn't use the word at all. But then we get people like Jesse Jackson who gets caught with a hot mic talking about candidate Barack Obama running for president, and he says, "I just want to cut the nigga balls off." You know what I'm saying? Like and so like Jesse Jackson would have never said that he used the word, but all of a sudden we get him with a hot mic and we find out that he uses the word.
Right.
And I think we got to be truthful with ourselves to figure out how to move forward. But what we can't do is act like we don't ever use a word or it doesn't exist. I think church leaders, I think politicians, I think a lot of times we get in this bubble and we feel so isolated, where we feel like we can't be who we really are, and we got to put on a certain face for our congregations or for our constituents. And I think until we're ready to say, you know what, listen, we just need to have a real conversation. Yes, I do use the word. This is the context in which I use the word. You might not agree, but this is how I use it. And when we have honest conversation and honest dialogue, we can find ourselves moving forward. So again, I don't know how I don't even know. I'm being honest. I'm transparent. I don't know totally how I feel about the word. But what I do think is I'd like for us to have more real conversation about the word in larger circles, so that we can really get to the root of where we're going. That's what I really feel. Do I think that hip hop should stop using it? Nah, not really. I think hip hop
ain't gonna listen to us. Let's stop playing like we got any power about what hip hop do.
So we the church, right? We the church. Let me transcribe this. Okay, so Jesus was from Nazareth. You know, he grew up, cut his teeth in Galilee, and he's a young adult, and he was hanging out with some other Negroes. They were traveling around. Okay, so the canon gives us the clean, sanitized version of what went down, right? From Nazareth from Nazareth to Judea, all the way through Samaria. So do you think that a bunch of young adult bros, come on, help me somebody. Do you think a bunch of young adult bros walk around saying thou shalt not? Hell nah to the knob, okay? All right. Come on.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Hold on.
They fried some fish. They fried some fish. They told some jokes. Come on.
Burning Bush.
And they had some slang terms for Peter, Simon, Peter, Simon, James, John, all of them. Matthew. Yeah. Come on. You don't hang around with 12 Negroes for 3 years and don't get down.
Hey, matter of fact, I was thinking about this when Jesus
had to walk everywhere. They didn't have an Uber. They have an Uber. They have an Uber. They had to walk everywhere. We get the sanitized version, and we want to sanctify everything in the church. You know what I'm saying? Right. But you don't hang around with Negro bros, and he was a Negro from Nazareth. I don't mean to offend your audience, but he was a brown skinned bro. Check his genealogy. Yeah, okay, so we does anything good come from Nazareth? That was a question about him. Okay.
Yeah.
Because he was from the hood of Nazareth.
Yeah.
And I'm quite sure he used inappropriate words like nigga every now and then. Might not have been that one, but it was something else. Because he was hanging out with 11, some of them with thugs, y'all. Come on.
Yeah.
Quote unquote. Thugs. Yeah. So I mean, I'm just trying to.
It's two situations where I feel
I'm done. Huh? Go ahead.
No, I said it's two situations I feel like Jesus might have said some things that church folk might not be comfortable with. when he was flipping tables in the temple, and when he was telling them Negroes, why y'all going to sleep while I'm over here praying my heart out? Because them was his friends.
It might not have been nigger. It might not have been nigger. It might not have been. It might not have been any of those
words for Negroes.
So it wasn't. It might not have been any of those terms, but it was something that he used. You know, that they talked. They used to talk to each other because they kept it real.
He was a thug like crazy. Yo.
Listen, I think we see it. I think 3J makes a point when John the Baptist is like, "You brood of vipers."
Yeah.
I think people see that and they go, "Oh, brood of vipers." That was just
nothing, right? That was just their term of language.
I think people don't get that. John the Baptist was like, "Nah, you sons of bitch."
Yeah, I mean, so the profane is a part of the sacred secular is who was it? James Cone in the spirituals and the blues talked about the intersection of the sacred and secular. So we have to get comfortable in our skin as leaders in the church and community. I mean, I pastor a relatively quote unquote traditional church, but we go there. And my homiletical practice is to go there. We talk about structure. So they know because I remind them where I came from.
I like
I
that.
I trained at Oxford, but I grew up in DC. There's a difference,
Yeah.
So I didn't grow up writing books, so I grew up surviving. So I just think it's just a matter of really contextualizing our lives and those terms. You can call them profane if you like, but it depends on your taste. But we have to become comfortable in the skin and particularly helping people of color understand the context in which we use those terms and which we should not now, perhaps. So, and really humanizing Jesus Christ if we're followers of him, really, I believe we need to humanize him and stop.
I like that.
And stop sanitizing him, sanitizing him. Yeah, he was fully human, fully divine, but he was from the hood.
He was a real nigga.
He was.
He was.
Yeah. That'll preach. That'll preach somebody. I know my stuff. My DMs are gonna blow up. In a good way. They're gonna blow up.
In a good way. Kim Carr says, according to 21 Jump Street, Jesus was Korean.
Man, that movie was funny, but I said she's right there.
I know we come to. I know we're getting close to our closing time, man.
This is we got
Dr. Hunt. I just can't tell you how much we appreciate you, man.
Voice of God, can we get claps for Dr. Hunt? Can we get claps?
You know what I mean? I will say this: that from the beginning of the year to now, the Well Encounters have had some real conversations. I mean, we started with hip hop and the church. We've gone to having the state's attorney of Prince George's County. We've talked about sex and scripture. We've talked about regentrification. And that was talking about the word, the N word, the nigga and nigger. And I think that I believe that the well represents the evolution of church is. And I love what you said earlier about the folks you talked about who the church does not always embrace the evolution from its start. We sort of jump on after the fact. Right. And I think that this gives us a chance to because we are the church. I don't want to give the church a bad name because we are the church.
Right.
And so again, we can never thank you for the wealth of knowledge and wisdom and understanding that you bring to the platform. And we appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you.
Gotta have him back.
I mean, I hope that you're open to coming back at some point.
I'll come back if you invite me and I can come, I'll come. Yeah.
All right, here we go. like that. I like that. I like that.
We do have I want to share a couple things with folks. So again, Brennan's buddy, Brandon Evie White is there's a second part to this conversation. The Sunday, we will premiere that at 6:00 on both the Whales Facebook and the Whales YouTube. So the event is already up. And I will share it in the chat with you so that you can follow that link to the event space. But make sure that on Sunday, if you are available, that you can check it out. And you'll see the link is there for everybody, both on YouTube. I'm putting it on YouTube right now. It's already on the Facebook. Make sure you follow Dr. Anthony Hunt. His book, we already put the link in the chat earlier. So please make sure you grab any of his stuff. His website, I sure has a link to all of the stuff. You can see our flyer there for Power in Words Part 2. Brandon Evie White, dope guy, man. He's a hip hop dude, one of Brennan's friends. I would like to make this plea. If you're following us or you're watching us, listen, it takes finances. And I know sometimes church has a bad reputation with finances. We're not trying to get your money to become rich. We're trying to have you invest in us so that we can continue these type of conversations. We pay the Amplify Network, and it does take time to make all this stuff come into fruition. So if you're willing to partner with us by investing in something like the Well, you can do a couple of things. You can text to give. So you can text the number 84321. And just like you see in the picture, if it's $5 you want to give, $100 you want to give, $500 you want to give. I know some folks are at the end of the year, you want to write off some things on your taxes. Feel free to give to the Well by texting 84321 with any dollar amount. You can also go to our website, www.encounterthewell.org. And you'll find out much more about us. All of our events are posted there. And if you go to the very last tab, that's where you can give to the Well. Now, listen, outside of you giving, we've got some amazing events coming up. On Sunday, we're doing our first in-person event, and we're going to do our first open mic brunch hosted by Butterfly Free, featuring T'Challa, Chaos itself.
You better think about T'Challa.
I know, right?
That Black Panther Wakanda forever.
If you want to come out to Mr. Henry's on Pennsylvania Avenue in D.C., we're going to do an open mic. We'd love for you to come out. You can go to our there's the flyer for you, and you can go to our page and you'll find the link to buy the tickets. The tickets are only $7. We'd love for you to come out, have a good time with us, so we can get to know who you are. And last, I want to do something that I don't always do with the Well. We're closing out our year, and listen, for many people, I know you don't have a church home that you might attend. But the Well is a part of a community. It's a faith-based community. And Kim Carr is on. All of our lovely folks are on. Our family is on. Listen, we want to prove to people that you can believe in God. You can experience Christ. And it doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything that everybody says. But you do have to be willing to love people no matter what. That's really all of our faith is about. And so if you'd like to be a part of our family, our community, please don't hesitate to email us at wearethewelldc@gmail.com. Or go to any of our websites, our social media sites, and DM us and let us know you'd like to learn more about what it means to be in the faith community, especially the Christian faith community. We love to have you be a part of our community. So please do that. Outside of that, listen.
Y'all want to talk about anything?
If you want to talk about anything, you want prayer for anything.
Y'all want us to discuss certain things, by all means, bring it up to us. We can have you on here to talk about it. Like, they're a part of us, right?
That's absolutely right.
So,
and Kim Carr said it best. Be willing to love and be willing to listen.
Hey, like that, Miss Carr.
So, again, we thank the Amplify Network. If you're just joining in, no matter when you watch this conversation, share the conversation on your Facebook. Share the YouTube link with your folks. Make sure you are around on Sunday for both the Wells Open Mic Brunch and the second part of our Power in Words conversation at 6:00 p.m. on both our YouTube and Facebook. Make sure you go back and check out the link for Dr. Anthony Hunt, who has 14 books out there.
14!
And we're gonna push y'all to read all 14.
Man, he wrote more than I wrote hooks.
Let us know when we can pre-order the 15.
That's right.
For sure.
Dr. Hunt,
It's gonna be good too.
I know that's right.
Hey,
Dr. Hunt, you had so many of your students watching, man. You had so many people watching. Is there anything in particular that you like for us to leave on tonight? Any final words, any thoughts about our conversation?
Just keep doing your thing and doing you, man. I think we need various expressions of culture and life to move humanity forward. And it's not a black thing or white thing, really. It's a humanity thing. So whatever that takes, let's be committed to that, and let's just keep it moving. I love what y'all doing, man. I love it. Any and ways that I can be supportive. Let me know. Anything I can do.
Coming back.
And if that means staying out of the way, I'll stay out of the way. I'm good. I don't have any real words of wisdom except just stay encouraged, man. Appreciate you.
Man, we appreciate it. No, we definitely don't want you to stay out of the way. We want you to be a part of the movement, man. You already are a part of the movement, and we appreciate that. Listen, also I want to give a shout out to my man Sean Michael Wilson, who is running for one of the Board of Education seats in Prince George's County. He's doing something on Monday. You can follow him at his stuff and learn more about him and how to support him. But listen, again, Amplify Network, we thank you, Jackie and Terrence, for having us on. And until next time, we love y'all, and there is absolutely nothing that y'all can do about it. Y'all have a blessed night, and we'll see you on Sunday at Mr. Henry's and Sunday evening both on YouTube and Facebook. Good night, and we'll see you again soon.
Gang!